Okay, I think we're live on Facebook. Cool. All right. So, happy Friday, everyone. My name is Mila, and I'm the host tonight for our diabetes uh, meeting tonight. And first of all, let me proud to introduce the speaker tonight, David Peter. So David has 4 master degrees, and a former CEO, and a retired U.S. Air Force colonel, and he also has served senior program manager for the Alaska Federal Healthcare Partnership. So now let's welcome David to the Zoom right now. So David, over you right now.
Hey, Mila, thanks so very much. And welcome everybody to the Health Eagle training for Global Health Team. And today's conversation is going to be about diabetes. And I want to introduce my dear friend, Elvin Kendrick. Elvin here's joined us this evening because it's his house. We've come to Elvin's house to give this presentation. So we took our studio on the road and come to Elvin's house, and we're going to talk about diabetes, which is near and dear to Elvin's heart, right, Elvin?
That's right.
Yeah. Why is that?
I'm type 2 diabetic.
Type 2 diabetic. How long have you been a type 2?
Over 20 years.
20 years. And Elvin, you know, you've got a lot of experience with this then.
Yes.
Yeah. So we're going to get into it, and we're actually going to watch a video of Elvin as we get into the presentation. To let you know, in this presentation, we will be presenting information that comes from people like Elvin, who have had diabetes. We will, and do have it. We will be talking about information from the Mayo Clinic. We will be hearing information from Dr. Strand and Dr. Ladd McNamara, and we will also be hearing information that's been gathered from Rick Mystrom on diabetes. He's actually got 3 books out now on diabetes, and want to recognize those individuals. And we'll now get into the presentation. So again, today we're going to be talking specifically about type 2, but in order to talk about type 2, we'll be doing an orientation of the others and talking about how it relates. Our background will be just that, is into it. Then we'll be into diabetes type 2, its causes, recognizing it, and then its causes, treatments, medications, nutrition, diet, and exercise, and then the USANA approach to looking at how to improve your life. This here's Elvin, and on the 10th of December in 2017, Elvin shared his story up at my house, and we're going to listen to that story. And then Elvin went off the program for a while, and now we've brought him back on after his loss of his brother. So we will come and we'll listen to Elvin's story.
Yes. Every year.
Go ahead,
family
I was
listener.
on Herbalife for about a year and no change. Just kept going, my energy level just kept going down.
Wow.
And I met Dave and got introduced to USANA. And I tell you, within the first couple of months, I noticed the difference. Started feeling better. I didn't have no energy before then, but after then, my energy level just came up. And,
It was amazing too, because we were talking about March. You could barely get out of your chair. You could barely get out of your chair. And then in August, what did you do? What did you do in August?
Yeah.
What did you do in August? You remember what we did in August? You left the state.
August.
And you did what? you spent a month with your family,
Oh, yeah, that's right.
in the lower 48.
Yeah.
You actually did a travel, you know, and that was just amazing in itself because you went for traveling for a whole month and you spent it with, you know how tiring a family can be.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And it wasn't like you had it easy when you went down there either. You had some other issues that you needed to deal with while you were down there. But, yeah. So did you come back from that, and what was the next thing? You renovated both bathrooms in your house.
Yes.
Really? Wow.
So
A
what
lot of work.
what kind of work did you completely tore out the
Oh,
bathrooms?
yes. Completely demolished both of them. Same, well, I think, what was it, did the one in my bedroom first. And just before we completed that, we went to our other bathroom.
Yeah.
And my sister-in-law, she helped a lot on that one. And she didn't know anything about laying towel or anything.
Yeah.
And, she's a good listener, so she's from China also.
So you did the floor, you got some lighting in, you had the bathrooms done, and then, you know, you started working again.
Started working part-time. And when I vacation, and I put that job on.
Close down, that's noise.
Elvin, how old are you?
69.
Oh my goodness. 69.
You imagine, this man doesn't look a day over 58, right?
He's younger than that.
All right, yeah. And, but you would have seen, I mean, we got pictures of him, and he looked like he was like 90, you know? I mean, the transition in the last half year has just been fantastic.
No matter what, I take my son away.
Yeah. Your son saved your life. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, it's just been just amazing. And, you know, I've met your brother, your brothers, right, and your daughter and your sister, right, and it's you know, it's been a real challenge. I wish Alvin would start with the program, but he isn't yet decided. What's the deal with Alvin, who's your twin?
Yeah, haven't talked to him into switching over yet.
He's waiting for his kidney to be replaced.
Oh, wow, really?
Yeah, he's on dialysis. He's got the same thing, you know.
He's 5 minutes older than I am.
5 minutes over.
5 minutes. And
So he's in pretty bad shape.
he's hardcore. He doesn't want to change anything.
I know. Remember, like,
Family is the hardest ones to talk to. It's the hardest
Yeah.
ones that, you know, to believe.
they're stubborn, right?
Yeah, family is always
How old are you? You look young.
I look young. I'm about my age, not.
You said I don't know about. How old is it?
My real age is pretty old.
Okay, so we'll go on to the next one, but Elvin, you did lose your brother,
Yes, I did.
and he never tried the nutrition approach.
No, I didn't.
Yeah, okay. So we're going to go and now move on to our presentation. So with that, I wanted to also hit upon the standard disclaimers that are necessary when we're giving these presentations. Is that one, the statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. As a matter of fact, they're all my statements. And the products discussed and other information provided are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. Okay, so that is in that. What we can do is we can relate our personal stories, and you've already heard one on that, and we'll hear more about personal stories as we get into the presentation. The information provided is provided with the hope that the listeners will consider their situation and make the changes needed in their lives to either prevent pre-diabetes, or if you've got pre-diabetes, reverse it so that you don't have it. And then, or if you are in and have diabetes like Elvin here, that you have the opportunity to learn, to increase your knowledge of your disease, and then work towards prolonging your life and avoiding the complications that go along with it, with this disease. Listeners are encouraged to seek answers to their questions and become better educated. Now, first of all, we're going to talk about the 3 different types of diabetes. And yes, there's type 1, type 2, and then there's also gestational diabetes. So diabetes type 1 makes up about 1% of the total diabetic population, and it's often, or was previously, known as juvenile diabetes because it usually appears in the child and it's created by an autoimmune system attack on the pancreas. And when the pancreas is attacked, then they basically lose the ability to generate insulin. So in the type 1 diabetic, they're usually requiring to have insulin injections of some form, whether they're patches or pumps or actual needles. And then also, it's generally found that type 1 diabetes is a hereditary rather than subject to prevention. Type 2 diabetes makes up about 90% of the adult population that have diabetes. And this is, it's basically caused by insulin resistance, and we'll get more into that later. Type 2 diabetes can be difficult to manage. Many reasons why it's difficult to manage, because it's a progressive disease and things change over time. So therefore the treatments have to change, and the approach to how you approach your diabetes has to change over time based upon where you are in the progression. And then the gestational diabetes is a special diabetes that occurs in pregnant women. It's a low percentage, but it exists. And usually it goes away after the baby is born, but it does increase the risk of type 2 later in life. And then the baby has a likelihood of developing obesity and type 2 diabetes later in life. So you need to pay attention to that if you've suffered from gestational diabetes as a pregnant mother. Okay, we're going to concentrate on adult onset diabetes. Type 2 diabetes is an epidemic greater than COVID-19, and that's supposed to be a 19 and not a 1. Diabetes claims more lives and costs more money to treat than COVID has. It costs over $150 billion every year, and it affects about 16 million Americans. Half of the diabetics are unaware they have the disease. And 4 out of 5 diabetics die from the side effects of the disease. Diabetes type 2 is usually diagnosed using a glycated hemoglobin test, or an HbA1c, and sometimes that's shortened to just A1C. And I know Elvin here, he's had his A1C tested here real recently. So we'll have more discussion on that. Your results are as follows. If you're below 5.7 on an A1C, you're a normal activity. That's where you want to be. You want to have your A1C below 5.7%. Now, in my most recent examination, I was at 5.2. Now, I had been at one time at 5.8, and I was a pre-diabetic, but that was when I weighed 230 pounds. Now I weigh 170 pounds. So, I have a much better diet, and I have much better nutrition, and I have much better exercise. And we're going to get into that approach to trying to bring your blood sugar percentage down into the normal range. The pre-diabetics are 5.7 to 6.4, and your diabetics are at 6.5 or above. All right, so this is the definition of where you sit between normal, pre-diabetic, or diabetic. And Elvin, where was your last reading?
A couple weeks ago, it was 6.7.
6.7. All right, so we're getting there, Elvin.
Yes.
And the goal is to where?
No diabetes.
No diabetes at all, right?
That's right.
All right. So that's the choices that you have based upon the definitions. One of the things to remember is that once you're a diabetic, you're always a diabetic by definition. It's where your indicators are that matters. So we want to pay attention to the indicators there and pay attention to your own blood sugar readings. Now, there are other tests, the oral glucose tolerance test, and you may be familiar with these, so that less than 140 milligrams per deciliter is normal. 140 to 199 milligrams per deciliter is diagnosed as prediabetes, and 200 milligrams per deciliter is considered to have diabetes type 2. Screening for type 2 diabetes, the American Diabetes Association recommends routine screening for any adult over 45 years, okay? Also, if you're in the group that is younger than 45 and you're overweight or obese and have one or more of the risk factors with diabetes, then you need to be tested. Women who have had gestational diabetes need to be tested. People who have been diagnosed with pre-diabetes needs to be tested more regularly. And children who are overweight or obese or have family history of type 2 diabetes also have high risk factors and they need to be tested. Okay, and it is just a blood test, and it's done as a fasting blood test. So what they want you to do is to not eat from midnight to when you get tested in the morning, and then get tested sometime in the morning of the next day. So before you eat a breakfast the next day after stopping eating, that's when you want to get tested. Now, I mentioned that diabetes type 2 is a bigger epidemic than is coronavirus. And I want to make that comparison so that you can understand that this is hugely a big problem in the United States and around the world. There are 88 million pre-diabetics in the United States. That's 26% of the entire population. Type 2 cases amount to 32 million. The deaths are 1.6 million people every year who die from diabetes and its complications. That's compared with only about 500,000 people who died last year from coronavirus. How many people recover from diabetes there, Elvin?
Usually it all depends.
Well, actually, because we all die,
Yeah,
right? And
we
you're
all
never
die.
not a diabetic.
Nope.
Nobody recovers, right? But you can live longer, right?
Yes.
Yeah, and you can be happier and you can be happy living that longer. So as far as recovery is concerned, we have a 0% recovery period, and over 20 million, almost 20 million and a half Americans recovered from their coronavirus. And in the diabetes, we're still treating, 32 million people each year with diabetes. So 31% of the people who died from the coronavirus also had diabetes type 2. So the question I'm asking you is, which scares you more? All right, diabetes type 2 or coronavirus? Or which would you rather have? All right, think about that as we go forward. Worldwide, there were 1.6 million deaths, seventh leading case of deaths in the world, right? Seventh leading cause of death in the world is from diabetes. And you can see that from in an epidemic standpoint, as the latest count, we got 160 million diabetes in 1980 and 422 million with diabetes in 2014. And here we are in the United States in 2020, and we've got 34.2 million, or 1 in 11 people have diabetes. Okay, American Indians and Alaskan Natives have the highest rate of diabetes in the United States. Diabetes cases are are high among Blacks and Hispanics as well. Amongst diabetics, 15% are smokers, 89% are overweight, and 38% are physically inactive. Okay, 37% of people with diabetes have chronic kidney disease. That is 1 in 4, right? And then 25% had moderate to severe chronic kidney disease, or stage 3 or 4 kidney disease. Type 2 diabetes is primarily the result of 2 interrelated problems. One is the cells become resistant to insulin and cannot take in enough sugar in order to provide energy, okay? And we'll be talking more about this, and this will be referred to as insulin resistance. And then the second reason is the pancreas cannot produce enough insulin to handle the amount of sugar in the body, okay? The key contributing factors are inactivity, overweight, poor or high glycemic diet, and poor nutrition. And increases in blood sugar causes additional inflammation and damages organs, blood vessels, tissues, and the telltale signs of diabetes. Now, diabetes can go on for a long time and you never know it. That's why we have so many people who are pre-diabetic and don't know it. There's actually even some people who have diabetes full-blown, diabetes type 2 full-blown, and they don't know it either, all right? So here are the things to look for in yourself and in your family members and the like, is that you got the increase in hunger, you've got the increase in thirst, you got frequent urination, you have unintended weight loss, you're fatigued, you have blurred vision, slow healing sores, okay, areas of darkened skin, usually in the armpits or around the neck, right? Frequent infections, numbness or tingling in your hands and feet, right? And then you'll also experience some people with sleeplessness, irritability, depression, and anxiety, all right, which are typical of any chronic disease. Okay, so if you have any of those telltale symptoms, you need to go to get tested for your blood sugar and check with your doctor. Now we need to understand sugar a little bit here to know, because we're going to get discussions, because there's more than one type of sugar and your body uses more than one type of sugar. So you have monosaccharides, all right, disaccharides, and polysaccharides. And mono is 1, di is 2, right, and poly is more, okay? So there's in your monosaccharides, you've got fructose, galactose, and glucose. As a disaccharide, you've got sucrose, lactose, and maltose. And the polysaccharides, you've got cellulose, glycogen, and starch. All right, let's talk about those just as a minute. Fructose is a sugar that basically comes from fruit. Galactose is used in the liver and in the fats, and then it's a transitional sugar, and then glucose is rapidly digested and gets into your bloodstream very fast. Disaccharides, there's sucrose, lactose, and maltose. Now, this is a little easier to understand because sucrose is basically your table sugar. All right. So people add sucrose to many, many things in their lives. So sucrose is the table sugar you put onto your unsweetened cereal to make it sweet, right? You add it to food, you mix it with your coffee and that sort of thing. That's a sucrose, right? And then we'll get into the lactose and maltose, but the lactose is basically from milks, right? And milk-based products. And maltose is malt, right? Which is a liquor sugar, right? Your polysaccharides are basically your fats, right? They're in your body, and they transition between fat and energy, right? And we'll get into the cycle just a little bit in the next slides. So again, sucrose is your table sugar. It comes from sugar cane or beets. And it is a disaccharide because it has both glucose and fructose in it. And that makes it, a dangerous, and we'll get down to that in just a minute. Natural fruits and vegetables and grains is where your fructose comes from. And then it's basically what is added to candy and ice cream and breakfast cereals and canned foods. Now watch out for your canned foods too, okay? And certainly it's in soda. That's why people say, you want to eliminate sodas from your diet altogether. Sucrose needs to be broken down in order to be used. So your digestive system has to break it down. And remember, it's got glucose and fructose, so they break down separately. And the interesting thing, and we get more into it, is that the glucose causes the insulin to be formed, and the fructose is left behind, and it effectively turns into fat. So when you have a disaccharide, okay, it can be a lot more dangerous than a monosaccharide. Fructose, as I said, is fruit sugar. It also is a monosaccharide like glucose. It comes from fruit, honey, agave, vegetables. It's often processed in foods like high fructose corn syrup. Now, high fructose corn syrup the corn has also has glucose in it from the monosaccharide carbohydrate corn, right? And then they add in the fruit in order to make it sweeter, because fructose tastes sweeter than glucose. The fructose is absorbed right into the bloodstream. The liver must convert fructose to glucose before it can be used. Now that means that fructose takes longer to enter the bloodstream than glucose. So remember, we'll get into this, and you can see that little line there down here in the bottom of the screen, is that in the graph, is that glucose rapidly enters the bloodstream, whereas fructose enters slowly, okay, or slower. So therefore, it has less impact on insulin than glucose. Now, glucose is basically a Greek word for sweet. And glucose has two major sources, the food and your liver, right? So you're eating food, right? And it's being converted at, the carbohydrates are sugar. Carbohydrates are sugar. So they get into the bloodstream, and they get into the bloodstream fast. And then also, if you're low in sugar, right? If you've used up all the sugar and your body needs more sugar in order to stay active, then your liver will convert glycogen and other fats into glucose, and then it'll get and start feeding your cells. Now, the glucose enters the cells at the at insulin receptors on the cells themselves. And then once it's inside the cell, it's metabolized by glucosis, which is the process, and enters into the mitochondria. The mitochondria inside of your cells then creates it to energy. And your mitochondria are known as your body's energy factory. Okay. And you'll remember from the other teachings is that the mitochondria are part of the intelligence complex target. That is, we want to take care of the mitochondria and renew the cells through the inside. Glucose is a simple sugar, and it's found in carbohydrates. Okay, it's your body's preferred energy source. The body loves glucose, and that glucose isn't broken down into any simpler compounds. It is added to processed foods such as dextrose from cornstarch, and it is less sweet than fructose or sucrose. So if you're adding sucrose or glucose, you're making things less sweet than you could have if you added the other two types of sugar, as far as taste is concerned. Okay, it's rapidly absorbed into the bloodstream. It raises the blood sugar very quickly. It stimulates the release of insulin. And the insulin then, is immediately turned into energy. And what isn't used as energy is returned to the bloodstream and is converted into fat in the liver. And the liver breaks down, okay, and as I mentioned, the liver will break down glycogen, which is a fat, into the glucose for the energy necessary. The other major component of that we need to know about is insulin. And insulin is a hormone, and it's created in the pancreas. Insulin regulates how the body uses sugar. And the sugar in the bloodstream triggers the pancreas to secrete the insulin. And then the insulin goes and collects up the glucose and carries it to the cells. It circulates the sugars in the bloodstream, and the amount of sugar in your bloodstream decreases. The pancreas will decrease its insulin production. Now, if you think about it like this, insulin is your body's energy transporter. Figure this as your mailman is carrying your paycheck of sugar to your home, right? You always need to have your sugar, right? Yeah, that paycheck's really important because your whole body runs on it. It creates the heat, it creates the energy, it creates my ability to be active and your ability to be active. And the thing about it is that you need it for your brain, you need it for your heart, you need it for your lungs, you need it for everything. You gotta have this energy, this sugar, right? The glucose. But the glucose picks up its paycheck from the liver and it delivers to you the mitochondria. So you figure you're the mitochondria, right? And your paycheck's coming to you, right? And what do you do with your paycheck? You heat your home, you run your appliances, right? That's your organs, your liver, everything in your body, right? It creates the warmth in your body and everything that goes on. Now, if the insulin cannot deliver the sugar is sent back into the bloodstream, right? So let's just say you've got a delivery coming to your home and you're not home, right? Or your home is boarded up or doesn't accept mail anymore, then you're going to end up with a lot of sugar in your bloodstream. So what does your body do with the blood, with the sugar? Well, it sends it to the dead letter office, all right, and stores it as fats for future delivery. So what happens? You get what? You get fat, all right? You get fat, and you can't do anything about it because your body is not using the sugar that you're consuming. Either you're consuming too much sugar, or you have insulin resistance, and the two are related. So the key is that what happens is if you're hungry, right, and your body can't use the sugar, what do? You eat more, right? And you eat more and you eat more and you're never satisfied. You're not feeding your cells. Or as my dear wife says, it's your cells are hungry. You got to feed your cells. And if your cells can't eat, then you're going to continue to be hungry, even though you're eating and eating and eating. So we need to take care of the issue of making sure that the sugar actually gets to the mitochondria. Now, that situation where your cell cannot accept the sugar is called insulin resistance. Now, you'll have lots and lots and lots of insulin resistors on every cell. You've got lots and lots and lots of cells in your body, all right? So, as I said, diabetes is a degenerative disease that occurs over many, many years. And it changes and gets worse as you progress if you don't take care of this one very basic thing is that you need to attack and cure this, or excuse me, to improve your ability to receive sugars into your mitochondria, all right, by eliminating insulin resistance. Now, insulin resistance is created by free radicals and oxidative stress. Free radicals and oxidative stress. And you get free radicals naturally, right? They naturally occur. As a matter of fact, the process of generating energy creates free radicals. This is and it's oxidative. So the free radical is the O plus, the O2 particle, and it then makes things rust. Or in this particular case, it attacks the receptors, the insulin receptor in this diagram here. So you've got insulin receptors and you've got portals for the glucose. And when the insulin receptor is damaged, the insulin cannot link up with it. It won't attach. Okay, so therefore the door for the glucose won't open, and the glucose won't be able to get into the cell. Now, over time, you might have a couple of those close, and over a little bit more time, you might have a lot more, and then a lot more, and then a lot more, and then finally, your body's not able to use its sugar. And certainly, the cells start dying, and when cells start dying and mitochondria are died inside, that's going to be a big problem, is it not?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, it is. So we want to be able to address the issue of insulin resistance. Now, we talked a little bit about the liver and the importance of the liver. The liver stores glucose for delivery to your cells. The liver produces an enzyme called glycogen to link chains of glucose together for transport. Glycogen is basically a fat, and it will also, the liver stores this glucose as glycogen. When your glucose levels are low, the liver will break down stored glycogen and turn it back into glucose to normalize the flow of glucose in the bloodstream. If you have excess glucose, it converts the fat, it converts into fat. And then the fat in the liver, okay, because you can get fat, you have fat in the liver, fat in the muscles, and then around the muscles, okay, and you get fat in your bloodstream as well. All right, but basically, we want to, in this, we're talking about liver, is that if you have a fatty liver, that leads to liver cell damage and the destruction of the liver. So, excess glycogen is not a good thing. So keeping your blood sugar down, making sure your insulin receptors are functioning well, and making sure your liver doesn't acquire a lot of fat, because it's inflammation will cause fibrosis and scarring and cirrhosis, and then even liver cancer. So what are some of the risks associated with diabetes? Well, everybody knows that first one, right? Being overweight or obese is the main risk. And it's a first indicator too, is that because if you're having trouble losing weight, chances are you have a hard time using sugar, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So we have to make sure that your body's able to use sugar. Then the next thing is your fat distribution. Where's the fat actually located? Fat around the abdomen is usually a big indicator. On the hips and thighs, men and women, acquire their fat differently. For most men, it's right around the gut. For most women, it's around the hips and the thighs. Yeah, inactivity, that's another big risk. We need to stay active. We need to actually burn the sugars that we consume, right? Sugar in, sugar out, right? Sugar out in terms of a heat and energy and activity, right? Family history plays a strong reading in this, and there's lots of research still going on into the heredity aspects of type 2, or the increased risk of having type 2 based upon the history of the family. One of the reasons that is often quoted is that a family that is not active, the children will not active, right? Mm-hmm. If the father and mother are fat, the children are likely to be fat, right? So it's not just the hereditary aspects, but it is the traditional aspects of the family, right? Also, race and ethnicity play into the risk factors, as we talked about before. Blacks, Hispanics, Native Americans, and Asian people, Pacific Islanders, have a higher propensity towards type 2 diabetes than do white people. But there are still lots and lots of people who are of every ethnicity that suffer from this particular degenerative disease. Okay. I was asked this question. I'm gonna give credit to David's wife, Gwen, who raised this issue to me about someone she knew that had unexplained weight loss, and that unexplained weight loss was part of the symptoms being experienced by an individual associated with diabetes. So you have a dichotomy between obesity and weight loss. One is an indicator of a risk factor, and the other is an indicator of a problem. And unintentional weight loss is where you don't intend to lose weight. You're not doing anything specifically different in your lifestyle, but you're still losing weight. And the reason why you might be losing weight is because of insulin resistance. Okay, you have the weight loss is worsening condition. If the cells do not get glucose, your body thinks it's starving. To compensate, the fat and muscle is burned more rapidly than can, and that can cause unexplained weight loss. The other thing that's happening is that your kidneys are working overtime to eliminate excess sugar from your body. So therefore, you're having increased urination, which may cause unexplained weight loss because you are now dehydrating. So if you're not adding additional water to stay hydrated, you're going to be losing weight. Water weight is some of the easiest way to lose. People who go exercise may lose 3 pounds during the exercise, and then they'll drink 3 pounds worth of water in order to get back. Actually, that's half a gallon, 3 pounds, right? Yes. But you've seen it before, and you've probably experienced it yourself. So with unintentional weight loss, you definitely want to think about having your doctor investigate that with you with some tests. Intestinal weight loss is desired, okay, especially in pre-diabetics, because they tend to have excess body fat. And the excess body fat is a risk of insulin resistance. So obese men are 7 times as at risk. Women are 12% at risk if they're obese of type 2 diabetes. Each kilogram of weight loss reduces your risk by 16%. How much is a kilogram?
I don't know.
It's about 2.3 pounds.
2.3 pounds.
It's about 2.3 pounds. So what you want to do is that you want to try, if you're overweight, you want to get yourself within normal weight as soon as you can and keep it there through exercise and diet and nutrition so that you decrease your risk of diabetes. All right, some more risks. Blood lipid levels. They're increased with low levels of high density lipotrin. It's cholesterol. So if you have, what happens as another risk factor is high cholesterol. Okay, and that's what this means. Your age, as your age increases, what happens to your body? You get older, don't you?
That's right.
Yeah, and you experience more oxidative stress.
Yes.
Right? And your body starts getting and feeling older, right? And things start breaking and so forth. So you need to be aware of the fact that as you get older, you have a higher risk of acquiring type 2 diabetes. If you have pre-diabetes, you have a high risk of acquiring type 2 diabetes. So left untreated, pre-diabetes, does it always? Not always, but it does almost always progress into type 2 diabetes. All right, pregnancy-related issues. This goes back to gestational diabetes, but also if you have gestational diabetes, you have a higher propensity towards type 2 diabetes later in life. The polycystic ovarian syndrome, if you have that, you've got a higher percentage or higher risk of acquiring diabetes. And if you have areas of darkened skin, okay, and that's unnatural darkened skin, not natural darkened skin, okay, you're my good friend, is that you have a chance that you have insulin resistance. And if you have insulin resistance, you have a higher risk, much higher risk of acquiring pre-diabetes and then, of course, diabetes. You're complicating chronic diseases or comorbidities. Say that 3 times fast, okay? Complicating chronic diseases or comorbidities. I just love that. It is that, you know, we were working in a previous life and you have to learn all of these words and you just stumble over them, okay? But the fact of the matter is that with pre-diabetes and diabetes, you're going to have damage to your heart and blood vessels, okay? And you're more at risk of atherosclerosis, which is damaging of the blood vessels, heart disease, strokes, and high blood pressure, okay? Nerve damage, you're going to have a higher propensity towards nerve damage in your limbs and then in other parts of your body, like your heart, which could create irregular heart rhythms, in your digestive system, which can cause you nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, constipation. For men, nerve damage can also create erectile dysfunction. So diabetes has a negative impact upon yourself in that regard to erectile dysfunction. It also creates kidney disease. Now, we've touched base on the impacts of kidney disease there. Additionally, complications include eye damage, soreness of the eyes, the creation of cataracts or glaucoma. Also, an indicator of diabetes is blurred vision. So having blurred vision. It will also have you have skin conditions where you're more susceptible to bacteria and fungal infections. You have slow healing. Cuts and blisters can become really dangerous infections if left untreated. You can have hearing impairment, sleep apnea, and also dementia. Insulin resistance is a medical condition. It is a recognized medical condition now. 10 years ago, it was not. And in the transition, it was sometimes referred to as Syndrome X. right? In Dr. Strand's book, he's got a whole paragraph, a whole section on diabetes and syndrome X and what he called at the time insulin resistance. The body doesn't respond to insulin. And this is a common thing. It's very common. Over 3 million cases per year are diagnosed as insulin resistance, but insulin resistance diagnosis does require lab testing and imaging. Okay. Is insulin resistance treatable? Yes, insulin resistance is treatable. Treatments, to manage the condition. Time taken for recovery and can take several years to go to. But the exact cause is comes from the oxidative stress, right? And oxidative stress is enhanced by, the obesity, the spiking of sugars, and this sort of thing. Insulin resistance in its early stages can mimic type 2 diabetes. And you need to have, basically the treatment for insulin resistance is the same as if you had prediabetes. It's nutrition, diet, and exercise, right? And the exercise leads to maintaining a healthy weight. Okay, and the reason we were talking about that before is that insulin resistance doesn't show itself until the symptoms of insulin resistance show themselves. Okay, so the high blood sugars, where the glucose cannot enter into the cells, the pre-diabetes and the diabetes. So you're going to be looking for pretty much the same thing. You're looking for the darkened armpits and the neck and the groin and the absence of menstruation, the lethargy, brain fog, hunger, urination, increased urination, increased thirst, and obesity. So we're looking at this little chart here in its simplistic form, but your normal, you've got the blood sugar at normal rate, you're generating insulin at a normal rate, and your insulin resistance is low. But as your blood sugar goes up, you're spiking your insulin, and now your insulin resistance goes up with it, with the spiking of it. And then as you get into your diabetes, your insulin production is decreased while your blood sugar is increased, and that makes it even worse. Okay. Okay, we covered the first part, but the medications you'll see are off. These are the kinds of things that are often prescribed. Okay, you go to the doctor, you see these medications, and they're often prescribed. And remember that the best treatment for the condition is nutrition, diet, and exercise. What is happening with these medications is that they tend to mask the symptoms, make you feel better, but don't do anything to improve your situation. I just want to touch on this one here is the metformin, which is normally prescribed, and it doesn't cure diabetes, right? You cannot take metformin and cure diabetes. No. Okay. So what does it do? It lowers your blood sugar to a safe range, but there are side effects. And one of the things I wanted to do is to make the relationship between medication and nutrition in this conversation, because I don't want to list all the medications and try to go through all their side effects. So we're just going to focus on metformin at this moment. And there are some really serious side effects associated with taking this medication or any medication for that matter. I think that if you take a medication and don't read about what the side effects are, you're doing yourself a disservice. All right. And so you can need to make the choices properly between the medication and some other means of improving your health. And that's an important component. In type 2 diabetes, to make sure you don't have to get this bottle of pills, and where's it? The bottle, big package of pills. Have to do your medications every day and meet with your come to home nurse. Is that you need to start by preventing, right? Quit being overweight, analyze your family history and risks, and work towards making sure you don't get into prediabetes. And if you already are in prediabetes, then really look at your lifestyle and fix that. And then with the insulin resistance, I would highly recommend nutrition to get in and address the issue of insulin resistance. All right. Now, the Mayo Clinic, these are the 5 big tips, and then an additional one for screening is physical activity, right? Lose that weight, use that sugar, boost your it'll boost your sensitivity to insulin. That means you're able to use your insulin, right? The glucose and your insulin tie together better, and then your aerobic exercise and resistive training. Mayo Clinic recommends doing both, not just one. So you want to do exercise that increases your heart rate for an extended period of time. That's aerobic. And then do your resistance training. That's your weightlifting, your rowing, your bicycle training, and like lifting some weights and moving things against resistance. That's going to do more than just help you with diabetes. It's going to improve your skeletal structure. It will improve your lung capacity and so forth. So it has a lot more benefit than just against diabetes, but specifically we want to get active if you're at risk for diabetes. Right? We want to do that with moderate exercise. So burn your consumed sugars. Know how much sugars you consume and be able to burn them effectively 30 to 60 minutes per day. Walking is great exercise, taking the stairs, stretching beforehand, light weights, rowing, stair climber, elliptical, treadmill, you did the whole gambit. But while you're doing that, you want to avoid injury. And you want to stay well hydrated. This, by the way, is a Rev 3 product. A Rev 3 stick pack mixed with water. It's a great way to stay hydrated and to stay on top of your game. Number 2 is get plenty of fiber, right? You're going to reduce your risk of diabetes because the fiber will help control the blood sugar in your bloodstream. Why? Is because it takes it out, lets it flow through the body, through your intestines and out the back door, and you'll feel better. Makes everything good. Make sure you're getting plenty of fiber. It'll also lower your risk of heart disease. It will promote your weight loss, right? Because fiber makes you feel full, but it doesn't get into your bloodstream, so it doesn't turn into fat. That's right. Yeah. Okay. So your high food, high in fibers, your fruits, your vegetables, your beans, your whole grains, and nuts and berries. Okay. Mayo Clinic says whole grains, right? Whole grains. Get all the grain. Don't go to the bleached flour. Don't go to the white rice. Don't go to cut the skin off the potatoes. Okay, leave the skin on. If anything, eat the skin. Throw away the rest. If you're going to eat potatoes, all right. So get the vitamins, but don't get the starches. Don't get those high carbs. Don't get those simple carbohydrates that turn into glucose straight away and spike your sugar levels, which causes the the oxidative stress for the free radicals and the damage to your insulin receptors. All right, lose that extra weight. Well, yes, got to lose that extra weight. How do you do that? We talked about some of the simple ways of going forward. You got to control your diet. You got to control your mouth, right? You can't eat everything, right? And don't eat stuff that's bad for you. You can change the way in which you eat. So, and what you eat and when you eat. Then, for every pound you lost, you're going to improve your resistance to pre-diabetes as well as to diabetes, right? Now, if you have cravings, what is that telling you? Oh man, I'm hungry, man. I'm craving this or I'm craving that. It's not the same thing. I have cravings. My cells are hungry, right? If your cells are hungry, concentrate on feeding your cells. Don't feed your stomach. Don't, control your mouth. Don't eat to fill your belly. Eat to feed your cells. Fifth way of preventing by Mayo Clinic was, skip the fad diets. Just make healthier choices, right? You need all the oil, the types of food, right? You just don't need all of it, right? You need each type, but not all, right? You get that? Mm-hmm. Right? So control your mouth, portion control, right? Don't eat as much. If you eat and you leave the table hungry, two things. That's a good thing because you're not overeating. And the second thing is either you're not feeding your cells proper nutrition. Then you have to look at what nutrition you are feeding. Because you cannot eat to achieve optimum nutrition, right? You cannot eat vegetables and fruit and meats and so forth in the quantities you need to obtain your optimum nutrition. So essentially you do have to supplement, and choosing the right supplement is the name of the game. Making sure that you have a high quality, high potency, and effective nutritional supplement. Finally, American Diabetes Association, again, get screened. Mayo Clinic says get screened, all right? And these are the same as we talked about before. I want to touch base on Dr. Ladd, whose material I'm going to be using in the next couple of slides. Give him credit. He is a board certified medical doctor. He has a program available to all of you through his VIP program. Just search for Dr. Ladd VIP and you will be brought to it. And he's big on making sure that we use the right nutritional supplements and do battle with the blood glucose, obesity, and diabetes epidemic that is occurring. Now, this is straight from Dr. Ladd, and it comes from his website. Give him credit, but in order to get to the information, you need to join his VIP program. Okay, so insulin receptors exist throughout the body. Every cell has many insulin receptors in places where the glucose can enter. Well, basically the insulin unlocks the door so the glucose can enter into the cell. The glucose then is used in glucosis to feed the mitochondria, and we've heard that story before, okay? So we go back and we're gonna try to avoid oxidative stress and free radicals, okay? Free radicals increase with age. They increase with environmental poisons and toxins we expose ourselves to. Self-abusive behaviors, okay? Not controlling what you eat, one, right? Choosing to smoke, that's another, right? Drinking too much, that's another. Okay, so there's a number of ways we self-abuse, and we want to avoid self-abusive behaviors. That is also self-abuse by sitting in your chair all day and not getting up and walking about and getting outside for exercise and getting fresh air and that sort of thing. So if you're sedentary, you need to change that behavior. Excessive sugar, you know, you want to avoid sugar spiking, right? So you want to avoid glucose as much as possible. You still need it, right? But you don't need it so much, right? So the thing is with glucose is that you want to have low glucose diet, right? You want to avoid excessive stress. Now, many people say you need to avoid stress. Well, if you avoid all stress, you're dead. Okay, your body needs stress. We talked about that before when you're growing bone, right? You need to stress your bones in order to cause them to grow. You need stress, but you don't need excessive stress. So you want to be able to relax and and to be able to sleep and to be able to grow. Which takes place while you're sleeping, by the way, in deep sleep. So the other one is insufficient vitamins, minerals, and nutrients. It creates free radicals because there's no antioxidants in there to remove them. Inflammation is the underlying cause of nearly every chronic degenerative disease. Glucose is a sugar that fuels your cells, especially the mitochondria. Okay, the pancreas releases the insulin, right? This is all review from the previous information, right? The insulin carries the glucose to the insulin receptors. The insulin receptors on the cells allow the sugar to enter and metabolize in the mitochondria. The mitochondria convert the sugar into energy. Protein molecules in the cell walls are stimulated by the insulin to allow the sugar to enter the cells. So we talked about the importance of proteins. This is one of the big reasons, big component for proteins. Okay, so think about it like a lock and key. The protein is the lock and the insulin is the key. So if the insulin can lock up with the cell and open the door for the glucose, you're going to have the glucose turned into energy, which is exactly what you want to have happen. But if the free radicals are attacking your insulin receptors and they damage the insulin receptors, then the insulin cannot unlock the door and the glucose cannot enter the cell. Okay, the lock and key system, again, the insulin's the key. If you have type 1, you don't have a key. So then you have to get a key from someplace, and that's where you get treated with the insulin for your type 1 diabetes, okay? In the type 2 diabetes, you have the key, right? But the lock is rusted shut. Does that make sense? Okay. How many people out there with rusted locks, right? So we come back to that. Okay, how the lock gets rusted is through oxidative stress. The oxidative stress damages the insulin receptors, right? And the more receptors that are damaged, the faster you develop type 2 diabetes. A high glycemic diet, right, spikes insulin, right? And insulin spiking creates the oxidative stress and over time damages enough of these receptors through inflammation that the receptors cannot receive the glucose or the insulin to open the door to allow the glucose to enter the cell. So here's the deal. Watch the glycemic indicators and control your diet of high glycemic foods. All right. And nutrition is where we need to be for reversing insulin resistance, obtaining that optimum nutrition, not the minimum, right? Not the minimum. Remember that the minimum is only to keep you alive. It doesn't, normal, right? It's just keep you from getting scurvy, as explained by Dr. Ladd in his last video presentation, is that you need to get to the optimum nutrition. And your optimum nutrition, Elvin, is different from my optimum nutrition.
Yes.
So personalized nutrition is something that you have to learn, something that you have to look for, something you have to develop yourself. And oftentimes you have to experiment on yourself with nutrition to find out what your optimum nutrition is to provide you the level of health and activity and well-being that you desire, right? And we'll get into the fact that USANA is all about personalized health. And lots of research and development is going into just that as we speak. Okay, your optimum nutrition is going to help you with reverse your insulin resistance, right? Because if your optimum nutrition includes intelligence technology, which is cell signaling, which tells your cells to renew, it's going to get some repair done to the cells, is it not? Yeah. So we're going to pay attention to that. So oxidative stress, we want to reduce that. We want to get rid of as much of it as we possibly can by battling the oxidation. And the best place to do that is actually in the cells. You need to get rid of the, your optimum nutrition will help you with your weight loss, right? If you're using nutrition properly, right, your body is going to react to the fats that's in it, and it's going to start burning them faster and allow you to be more active. And the more active you are, the faster you will lose weight. In my own case, I've lost 60 pounds. I lost 60 pounds in 8 months between March and November of 2016. And I have kept it off because I've kept my nutrition levels high. My optimum nutrition levels high. Okay, I've been able to be active. I've been able to have more life and energy, and as such, I use up a lot of calories. Right, and calories are a measure of energy. Right, and energy comes from food. Yeah, it comes from your glucose, doesn't it? Yes. Yeah. So we go to your food and glucose and energy, and then be active, burn it off. All right. Just a reminder that USANA does not promote its products for the use in diagnosing, treating, curing, or mitigating any disease, nor can we answer questions concerning medications or other treatments and a potential for interactions with USANA products. All right. One of the things, if you are on medications, we're not telling you to leave your medications. What we hope is that your nutrition will make your medications unnecessary. So make yourself healthy enough to be able to leave your medications behind. The best way to do that is to follow a good nutritional or an optimal nutritional program for yourself. We want you to reduce the effects of oxidation. We want you to improve your cellular health and your mitochondrial energy efficiency. Get that mitochondria working and all of them working. Renew that mitochondria on the inside. Support your healthy blood sugar levels by controlling your diet. Okay. Now, we're going to talk about the USANA approach. Right? The kinds of products that USANA offers that help people get control of their lives and make them healthy enough to get off their medications. All right. When I started on the USANA program, I was 230 pounds. I was on 10 different medications that I had to take every day, and I had to go to the doctor's office every week to get tested and to mitigate my and to manage my medications and so forth. I got onto my nutritional programs, and over time, I stopped needing them. That's my story. I stopped needing them. For instance, I'd been on Prilosec for my acid reflux for 21 years. You know, not having acid reflux was a godsend, but getting rid of the need to have the drug to treat the acid reflux, that was a godsend too. So by being on a health pack for a very short period of time for myself, okay, that's my story. Your story will vary, you know, results do vary, but based upon the fact that we're very much different people, right? We talked about that before. Elvin's optimal requirements are different from my optimal requirements. My results are different from his results, but you have to check it out to find out how your body is going to react. But the fact of the matter is I lost the need for that particular medication within the first 3 weeks of taking my health pack. Then my eyesight started getting better. I started getting on the Vision X product. I got more energy. You know, my mitochondria was being supported. Like I said, get more energy, start burning more, got more active, started losing more weight, you know. Then I added other optimizers to address issues of risks that I was experiencing. But over the long run, I got rid of all my pains, got rid of all of my medications, and now all I do is take nutrition. And I'll tell you, it's a whole lot better taking nutrition than it was taking the medications. One, it costs a whole lot less. And I get to tell you guys about it, and that makes me happy. All right, so you're one of the first things you want to do with this is if you've got concerns about diabetes or weight, I want you to get you on the reset program. Why? Because the reset program resets your digestive system and it resets your insulin resistance. Okay, it starts making you healthy and better able to receive the nutrition that you're going to be getting, right? It preps you, right? And then with the reset program, basically it's 5 days, right? Three shakes a day, health pack twice a day, and a probiotic once a day. All right, 5 days. And then you want to go into the maintenance program, which is 1 shake a day, and then the health pack and the probiotic every other day. But the fact you go through this and you're going to start losing weight. Most people who are on the 5-day program, they'll lose 3 pounds, but it's not the weight loss that's important with the reset program, with the reset. What's important is resetting the clock and start repairing those insulin receptors so you can use the energy, right? So you can use the nutrition to create the energy that you need to be more active. The more active you are, the more weight you're going to lose. And you want to lose slowly rather than fast, right? No fat loss, right? Mm-hmm. You want to make it maintainable, right? So in addition to that, and in the protocols for diabetics and pre-diabetics, you need to have chromium, magnesium, vitamin C, vitamin A, E, vitamin D, calcium and K2. You need alpha lipoic acid. You need N-acetyl L-cysteine and green tea extract. So what is Health Pack got in it? It's got all of that and more, right? So the Health Pack, which is this product right here, and Elvin, you got your Health Pack now, right?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, absolutely. You're doing it what, every day?
Every day.
Every day, twice a day?
Yes.
All right, morning and night. Morning meal, evening meal. Take your Health Pack. Comes in easy packages, right? Already packaged up, right? Morning and night. It's even got a PM and AM stamp right on it. So you get all your minerals and all your vitamins, and you get your calcium, vitamin D, and magnesium. And you also get what is a Cell Essentials booster. And a Cell Essentials booster is part of kickstarting that intelligence process in your body and helping get those insulin resistant receptors repaired and functioning, and also attacking all those oxidants, right? So get rid of those free radicals with the antioxidants, and with the cell signaling technology of intelligence, it works for inside the cells and helps repair the mitochondria, makes it more efficient, and you're going to get better energy use, better use of the sugars that you're in, and you're going to feel better and more energy. And Elvin, since I've been here with you, have you been active?
Yes.
Yeah, you bet. I've walked your little feet off, haven't I? So I want to be sure that we take each other by the hand too, because our friends who are diabetics, sometimes they need a little help, getting out of their chair, right? Getting themselves up, making sure that they have the knowledge that they need in order to make decisions that will improve their lifestyle and make their lives better. And that's what we want and hope for you as well. I want to go to the next slide. Okay. In addition to the health pack, these other products are recommended for diabetics. Okay. The proflavin C is put on this list right at the top because it does lots and lots of things. It's the most popular product in the USANA line. But the issue with the proflavin C on this list is that it does a lot of good for your insulin resistors by eliminating the free radicals that are attacking your insulin receptors. Okay, Biomega for your blood, procglucamone for your immune system, all going to help you by making you stronger and better able to handle the oxidative stress to your blood vessels and your heart, as well as keep your immune system up so you don't become susceptible to disease that is you are more susceptible to when you have a chronic disease like diabetes. You become more susceptible to other diseases. So you want to get your immune system up in the procglucamone. You need to make sure that your gut health is great. And that's why the probiotic stick pack is in there, because it's putting all the right bacteria, right? Good bacteria, bad bacteria, the right biome, lots of research into that. In this particular case, the probiotic stick is putting great bacteria into your stomach, billions, millions, billions, something like that, of the right. And it causes the food to digest properly, to break down properly, to pull out the things that you don't need and flush them away, and make sure that you are healthy. Plus the fact that 70% of your immune system is regulated by your gut. There's a connection between your gut and your head. There's a connection between your gut and your heart. I mean, all of this is all based upon making sure your gut health is good. Your curcumin for your brain and your heart and your liver, right? For your liver. The Nutrimeal, or the My Smart Shake whey protein or soy protein. The Nutrimeal is the shake that I was referring to. And the idea of the Nutrimeal is the Nutrimeal has vitamins and minerals and so forth in it, but also has proteins in it. And the Nutrimeal helps you keep a healthy diet, right? It helps you stay full. It helps you tell your brain that you're not hungry. It gives you vitamins and minerals and so forth, so that you can have this as a separate meal, and then you can go on and have your food and still get it. I like to take my health pack with my Nutrimeal in the morning, and that's how I do it. Elvin, you usually get your Nutrimeal right about noontime, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, and that's fine. Other people do it in other ways. But the neat thing about Nutrimeal is that you can mix it with lots of different things to get you different tastes. So you don't have to be just, plain Jane if you don't want to be plain Jane, right? You like the chocolate, I like the vanilla, but with the chocolate, it's great by itself. But if you put a banana or strawberries with it, you change the taste. I like to mix it with coffee.
Yes.
Yeah, make a beautiful mocha. Now with the vanilla, I can put blueberries and strawberries, or bananas. I can make it a citrus one. I can do anything with it. It's just got a light vanilla taste, and it tastes great. But what it does is it keeps me from being hungry until it's time to eat. Right? So I'm not snacking. And so we go through that. Then the fiber G I add to the NutriMeal or to the shake in order to help increase my fiber. We talked about the importance of having high fiber. It grabs sugars that you don't need, and drops them out the back end and keeps you regular, right? The protein booster. Proteins are absolutely critical to your body. You need to have proteins. They're in everything, and they regulate lots and lots of things, right? Collagen is best generated from protein. So the flexibility of your skin, the strength of your bones, the ability to have good joint motion, all of this, if you get the right protein. So you get to add the protein booster in, and then C booster when you are in situations that are outside your control, right? That puts you at risk of toxins or environmental factors that you want to try to avoid or boost your immune system to help protect you from. A great example of the C booster is going on an airplane. And so the day before I have a business trip or some other travel that's coming up, I take a C booster, right? And then on the day of the travel, I'll put a C booster in my pocket because I can't take the water and a C booster liquid into your through TSA. So I have it in my pocket, right? I'll put it out in the tray, right? So everybody can see it. Let it go through the microwave, So the X-ray machine, and then on the other side, I pick up everything, put my belt back on, tie my shoes, and then I'll go grab my C booster, put it back in my pocket, go to the store, right? There's always a store right inside TSA, right? You get you a bottle of water, throw your C booster in, shake it up, take it on the airplane. Now you got hydration and you've got immune boosting C booster. And then I also do it the day after travel so that if anything was picked up on the way, I would be able to boost my immune system that extra special way. So these are the optimizers that are recommended for diabetics. All right, so we covered a lot of different things today. And I'm going to open it up to conversations in just a minute. But just to remember what we talked about, we talked about what diabetes was. We talked about the makeup of the diabetes, the sugars, the insulin resistance. We talked about, the definitions, the causes, the health impacts. We did talk about treatments. We touched base on the medications and the need for nutrition, diet, and exercise. And then finally, we went through the USANA approach to prevention and control of diabetes. And again, as individuals, and you sit in here without diabetes, right? You need to pay attention because 1 out of 3 Americans will develop pre-diabetes, right?
Yes.
And 1 in 11 will end up with diabetes. And everybody dies from something associated with diabetes at the end. The complications just grow and grow and grow because you're not you're more susceptible to the chronic diseases that are associated with the deterioration of your energy system. Okay, so in the end, there we have it, and I'm going to open it up, ask everybody to unmute, and we're going to start with you, Elvin. Right? Okay. Now, I'm going to ask you, all right, because this is real important for the audience to know, is that when we met, can you remember the day we met?
No.
You can't? No. All right, it was in 2017, and you were in that chair right over there, okay? And you had on these great big old shoes, right? And you could have a hard time just getting out of the chair. Right? And it'd been a real long time since you took a walk.
Yes.
Yeah. All right. And you've been on nutrition products when we met.
Yeah.
Right. From other companies. Right. And I'm going to go and, we won't talk about which ones they were, but they were not USANA products.
No.
Okay. So we got you onto the USANA product that night. Right. And you started taking it. And that was early in it was late in the winter of 2017, right? And we saw your story there. We were talking in December of that same year, and what your year had changed to.
Oh, yes.
Okay. Now, how long did you take those USANA products?
Over here.
For over a year. And then what happened?
Fell off the wagon.
You fell off the wagon.
Yeah.
All right. And did your disease get worse?
Yes.
All right. All right. And now we're back again, and we'll get you back on the wagon, right?
Yes.
All right. So I wanted to be able to relate that, and then and go back and say that you know, even in my own life, there's been times when I haven't been able to get my products, and I have noticed that my conditions that occurred, you know, that I was better from, right, were starting to return.
Yes.
Yeah. So when I was able to get back my products, I started getting back to where I was happy and healthy and so forth. So now, you know, go back from there. So it's a really important component of understanding that nutrition is food, right? And if you don't eat your nutrition, it's not going to do you any good,
No.
right? You need to get and keep feeding your cells, because your cells are eating your nutrition every day.
And it is.
All right. The other component of it is I want to get back to the issue of the quality of the products is so very important. It's got to have the right combination of ingredients. It's got to have the right potency of the ingredients. They have to be potent and they have to be pure in order for them to work right. And they have to be what they say they are. But most important, right, they have to digest.
Yes.
All right. You ever left a USANA tablet in your mouth and let it digest?
No.
It's a good thing you don't, because they digest pretty fast and they taste not so good. So you want to go ahead. They do coat them, but they're designed to digest rapidly.
Yes.
And get into your bloodstream and do the most amount of good, because a vitamin that doesn't get into your bloodstream can't possibly do any good. And most store-bought companies put so much binder on their products that they can't possibly digest. The cheaper they are, the less quality they are, the less potency they are, but the more binder is in there, and they just don't digest. Okay. And then the next thing is making sure that they're very high quality products, that you're not getting contaminants in your product, and making sure that they're tested, and that's an important component. And then making sure that they are the right potency for you, right? And then that's an important component. All right. So if everybody's back open.
Yep.
All right. And David, did Eric show up?
I see David's muted right now.
Yeah. All right. And hey, Thekla, are you there? Can you unmute? I see you're exercising. That's great. That's what we need.
You unmute.
Yeah, I see David, and I see Eric. Hi, Eric. Can you unmute?
Now I'm unmuted. Thank you for sending that.
All right. Fantastic. So Thekla, tell us about a friend or a self or a story that we've got about diabetes and the approach to it.
Well, a long time ago, let's see, about 2008-ish timeframe, my doctor decided that I was insulin resistant because of my weight. And I've always been on the heavy side. The only time I was skinny was when I was not being very bad. I was a drug addict. So that was the only time I was ever thin. Anyway, they put me on metformin, coma, got fired from my job. It was really awkward that time. But came doctors and they took the test, actually did the blood test I was not insulin resistant. My cholesterol was excellent. I was actually in really good health at that time, other than I was very heavy, and I'm still very heavy. But today, of course, I got good nutrition. I'm still heavy. Don't know when that will ever go away, but
you're working on it.
I have very good, no, I'm always trying to burn calories, but that doesn't mean anything. My cholesterol is very good shape. I have very good high to low cholesterol rating. So my brain functions very well. My A1C is actually down in the 5.9 range. So I'm not anywhere near as being a diabetic.
Okay, but you're pre-diabetic.
No, not even pre-diabetic.
No, by definition, if you're 5.9, you're pre-diabetic.
Well, then it's not 5.9.
Okay.
So I haven't been listed in a diabetic range since 2001.
All right.
So, but
Eric's got
I eliminate sugar from my diet, and I eat very little fruit that has, the high sugar, except when it's cherry season, because I love cherries.
Okay.
I have to indulge one time a year, but that's you counteract the sugar with the fiber, and then you don't have the insulin spikes. And if you don't have the insulin spikes, you don't have the A1C ratings.
Yep, there you go.
That's the key. If you know you're going to have birthday cake, you do your fiber shots. You make sure you have your fiber G by the bag on the counter all the time in sealable packages, preferably in glass, to carry with you to mix if you're going out. Even if you're going to have an alcoholic drink, you have to have your fiber to counteract that sugar. And it's the best way I can tell anybody to maintain and get rid of that sugar in your body, because sugar causes more autoimmune diseases than anything on the face of the earth, other than your Roundup and that sort of stuff. But that's another story.
All right, Thecla. Now I see that Eric has come to join us. Eric, how are you doing today?
I'm alive, but I'm not kicking.
You're not kicking, huh?
Yeah, I'm on all sorts of heart and diuretic medicine to repair my heart.
Ooh.
Because I just came out of COVID heart failure problem.
Oh, no.
And it's sort of looking like the COVID not only aggravated my heart, but it also aggravated my diabetes.
Oh, yeah.
Before this, I had gone off my metformin. I was down to 5.5 on my A1C, and the doctor looked at me and said, "How did that happen?" I said, "I just gave up everything." But COVID came along and brought it back with a roar. In the hospital, my fasting glucose was like 150 instead of 100. And when I got back home, I figured, oh, well, I'll go back to a regular diet, no cake, no goodies. And it's still at 150 after 12 hours of doing nothing and eating nothing. So I went back on metformin, and it did nothing. Metformin didn't do anything now.
Nope.
So I went to the doctor yesterday, and the doctor doubled it. So if one amount doesn't do it, hey, try double. And then I just heard from you that you said metformin actually interferes with heart issues, heart function, heart failure, AFib, which is my other problems. So wait a minute, I'm taking something to cure my diabetes, and it's not working, so I'm doubling it, but I still have a heart problem.
Yeah, you need to talk to somebody about that.
I know, I don't know who to talk to. That's the problem. At any rate,
Where are
I'm,
you
pardon me.
Where are you located?
I'm in Anchorage. Actually, I'm sitting in Gwen and David's house right now.
Okay, so check to see if there's a functional doctor, functional medicine doctor who treats the entire body in your location.
Supposedly, that's who I have, but actually he's on medical leave. So I have his replacement, but functional, what do you call it?
Functional medicine.
Functional medicine.
And you ask them, do you treat the entire body, not just the symptom?
Well, I've been looking for such people for years, but I will look for that designation.
Yeah, go on the internet too.
Okay. Tangential to this, I started out like Dave Peters at 235 pounds, and I was pleasantly plump. And with USANA and just limiting what goes in, limiting my, what do you call them, donuts and fat pills and cake and all the goodies, I was down to 180. So when I went into the hospital, I was 180 pounds compared to 235. But
Well, that's excellent, Eric.
Yeah.
And it's great to see you up and about. I mean, that's the fact that you're there at David's house.
Yeah.
Speaks highly.
Well, couple tangents for a second. When I was in the hospital, I went in on the 19th of February and came out on the evening of the 22nd. I lost 20 pounds in 2 days.
Oh.
That was not ugly fat. That was water, because the water was starting to collect from COVID or whatever, and obviously it collects in your legs and your feet, but it also collects in the bottom of your lung, and that's where you get your pneumonia. So we fixed that, but my heart is now not doing well. Whether it's insulin resistance or pancreas failing or something's going on there, and I'm not finding the right answers. I'm not finding the right solutions. The purpose of my meds is to slow down my heart, slow down my blood pressure, and give my heart a chance to recover. It was near death, believe it or not. Can you imagine? They say ejection fraction of less than 20%, you're on the way to the cemetery. I was at 13.
Oh my goodness.
And, so
praise God you're here.
Pardon me?
I said, praise God you're here.
Yeah, but so they're trying to recover my heart, and they give me all this medicine. So my blood pressure is down to 105 over 60, or maybe 100 over 55.
Oh my God.
So if I stand up, I'm ready to fall over, because
medication.
there's no blood going to my head. Yes, my head. Yes. The question is, which is worse, and what do you do about it? So we're in that fact-finding part. I'm going to see in a few weeks whether it's doing my heart any good. If it is, okay, we can continue. But now the diabetes is a real issue, because 150 fasting blood sugar is not good at all.
No, that's terrible. So give the same recommendation that I give to Gwen years ago, was that we got to make you healthy enough to take your medications. So make sure that you stay on your nutrition there, Eric, and
yes,
build and continue that strength, and give yourself the best opportunity to move forward and get off those meds.
Ironically, go ahead.
I was going to ask you a question. How's your breathing?
Breathing's fine now. I didn't even realize when I went into the ER that I was short of breath. You sort of compensate, but I was to the point where I couldn't talk and walk at the same time. You know,
So what I would recommend, and this is good regardless if you're sick, if you're not sick, is to practice breathing through your nose so it fills up your stomach. So your lungs are full, so your stomach gets extended out.
yeah.
Hold it for a few minutes
Few minutes.
and let it back out through your nose.
Okay.
This is a natural way to lower your heart pressure, your blood pressure,
Oh,
and it strengthens your heart.
okay. Very interesting. Okay, I will give that a shot, because I really do want to get off the heart meds, because, you know, when you think about it, accomplishing what they're wanting me to do, namely drop the pressure, which is way below normal, is contradictory with doing anything useful in life. You know, when you work or do something or move or walk, your blood pressure has to go up. Well,
Yes.
and your heart rate has to go up. Well, they're keeping it down. So as long as I'm sitting, I'm okay. But
Yeah. The other thing about that is that if your blood isn't moving, which is at low blood pressure, your blood's not moving, so it's not carrying as much energy in it. You know, your insulin that you are manufacturing is not being able to carry as much glucose to your cells as your body needs. So that's going to make you tired and of course make you cold.
Yeah.
So the other thing too is that you're on the right path, and I think you know, finding the right medical professional to treat you is key. But also, I would highly recommend you make sure that you get your health pack every day, and maybe more than just one every day, given your heart and health condition. Of course, you have to decide the magnitude to achieve your optimum health, but you are in a situation where you need to recover, and making sure you get more nutrition rather than less of the right nutrition is most important. So I'd, you know, listen to Gwen. She'll tell you the right stuff. Okay.
Actually, that's why I'm having dinner over here, because she is a good, healthy cook. And every time I come back, I say, wow, I feel better than normal. Let me digress and take a tangent, which will maybe warn other people.
Okay.
When I was young, I was sort of like Dave Peters. I was out and about and doing lots of stuff, and there's nothing that would stop me. And who cares? I could run up 20 stories, literally, 2 steps at a time. Now I'm lucky if I can pull myself up a half a story. But the diabetes issues start 15, 20, 25 years before you notice them. So I'll just list some of the symptoms. In 1980s, I used to fly a lot, and I'd take my shoes off at the beginning of the flight, and then when it came time to land, I couldn't put my shoes back on because my feet were starting to swell. That's 85, so that's 25, 35 years ago. In the mid 90s, I remember giving engineering testimony, and we had coffee and donuts and lunch and breakfast and snacks and everything. And after lunch, I was giving testimony, and I literally fell asleep talking. And, oh, wait a minute, that's because of the sugar high from the diabetes. I didn't even know I had it. And some years after that, I remember driving with Tiffany, my daughter, and she said, "Daddy, why are you driving so slow?" I said, "Shh, quiet, I'm sleeping." So my point, and one of my doctors in the mid 90s said, "Hey, your blood pressure's starting up." These things happen 20, 25 years before you know it. And when you're young, you can adjust. When you're older, your body it can't adjust so well anymore. So prevention, or as my wife Amy will say, avoid, husband, avoid. Avoid the problem. And that's for some of the younger people who think they're bulletproof. And my wife says, "Husband, no sugar." I say, "Amy, you're eating that white tasteless sugar. It's called rice. And you're just shoveling it down and you don't think it's sugar. It goes in your stomach and it's a polysaccharide that turns into glucose eventually.
Yep.
At any rate, my point is avoid. And then you don't have to get into these discussions when you're our age.
Yep, there we go.
Anyway,
So we've reached our timeline, and I wanted to thank everybody for being here. Mila, have you any last statements you want to do?
No, I think you have a great presentation tonight and learned so much from you, and also are able to translate it over to Asya and Michelle over WeChat, so they're able to understand better what you're talking. So that's nice. And yeah, so without that, I think that's it. So looking forward for the future presentation.
All right. So going into the future presentations, I want to make sure that everybody's seeing the advertisements for the Diamond University. That's coming up here soon, and you need to register. The cost is $49. It's nothing, for the information that we're going to getting. It's USANA specific advice on how to become a diamond, how to do the business better, how to self-motivate, how to turn your lives around, how to run your business. It's just going to be full of information. It's 3 full days. And look for the advertisement. There's a couple already been sent out. We'll have some more out. It'll be on the group chats, right? And also join in with David Monteith on his program on advancement, right? Rank advancement and getting to achiever. So that's an important component. We want everybody to advance themselves, one, because it makes your lives easier, it makes it more interesting, and you'll be more healthy, as well as the fact that think of all the people you're going to be helping. Concentrate on the people that you're going to be helping, and you owe it to them to do your business well.
let me throw in one final little comment. As I'm sitting here, I have my 4 medicines that they gave me for my heart. 3 of them, the side effects thing says, watch out if you're diabetic, watch your blood sugar, be careful of this stuff. Wait a minute, I'm taking it for my heart and my diabetes is going cuckoo. Not unusual. So I don't think USANA has side effects, but this stuff does.
Yeah.
Anyway, be careful.
Thank you, Eric. And
You're
that
welcome.
being said, I'm going to go ahead and ask.
I'm going to throw this in for Eric, just for Eric. Talk with your pharmacist also about the medication.
Actually, sometimes I have, and I found some big surprises. Oh, this is supposed to do that, but it also does something different. And I said, oh, wait a minute, why am I doing this?
Exactly.
Anyway, you're right. So David's presentation, by the way, in 1 hour, I've heard more about diabetes in one spot than I have from anyone else. So I admire the work he's done to put it together.
Well, thank you very much, Eric. And again, with that, what I want to do is to wish everybody a great evening and a wonderful weekend. And we'll cut again next week, Friday.
I won't be able to make next Friday.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that, Thakla. But that's okay. You'll be doing something more important. So here we are. Back again. I will ask you in chat as to what you want to hear about. And I think that what we will do is we will have some help and a guest speaker next week.
Oh, wonderful.
Okay. So everybody be healthy and everybody be happy. Thank you.
Yeah.
Good night.
Okay.
David. Thank you, David.
Thanks, David.
Thank you. Bye. Have a good night.
You
Bye.
too. Bye.